Incoming message.
The people on Earth, as is, a great number of us don't have emotional intelligence as is already, as a concept, as a daily practice. Emotional intelligence is lost on us. And you're telling me now that we're investing $50 million, or $50 million was raised on the idea that this technology can help people get to close that gap of what emotional intelligence is? What's going on, fam? This is KR Jones of the Off the Strength podcast, and I am here to tell you to like, listen, subscribe, and if you're feeling freaky, visit offthestrength.com. That's where you can go and get more information on us. That's where we can link, we can build, we can connect, and let's make this thing work.
You ever have any experiences that did not live up to the hype in your day-to-day?
Oh my God.
Let's talk about them.
What, are we talking sexual? You know what I'm saying?
Well, because that's the first place that your mind went, go ahead, man. What's on your heart, brother? What's on your mind? What's up, man?
This is an after dark story that you're going to get in the daylight. You know what I'm saying? It's a bit of a transition, but let me just paint the picture for you. So, you know, you're young, you're single, you're spry, you're out in the streets, and you're looking to mate, if you will.
You're looking to mate, okay.
You're looking to mate, you're looking for that dalliance. Go look that word up again if you don't know what it means. Now, in the midst of this time, there was a young lady that was notoriously known for aggressive movements, if you will, right? You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, can you clarify what you mean by that?
She was a wellness professional, and she did a lot of dynamic movement, if you will, throughout her practice. So like a lot of weight training, a lot of like shape shifting. Like it was one of those things where you like, yo, the way that she's doing this movement, I just know it's going to translate into the bedroom. Now, I feel like that's a misconception a lot of people make. Like the same could be said for like a man that knows how to dance or like roller skate, whatever colloquialism you want to throw at it to understand what your mate may have behind closed doors. We get behind closed doors, man. This young lady was stiff as a board, bro.
What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Strength. We're giving you an inside look into all things wellness culture. I'm a trainer called Tony, and of course with me I got a questionable gentleman of extraordinary league.
KR Jones is in the building.
That's right, folks. We are back. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type, from near and far, you are now in store for a treat because it's the return of the variety show. That's when we give you our best foot forward. So hopefully you take your best foot forward. You do that two-step, that tango, whatever it is you need to do to make it on through the week with the best goddamn wellness information available.
Yeah.
Now, Brother Jones,
What's
you
the
seem
word?
like you were a little bored with that last interaction, my man. Hopefully your week was better than that left you off.
That's wild. I don't appreciate you trying to give me the 1-900 get indicted hotline.
Listen, I didn't.
That's 2 weeks in a row. So don't make me start asking questions. You know what I mean?
You put that out
Don't
there.
make me expose you to the folks that don't know you, Tone.
That's what you put on your platform. That's how you put that
Nigga,
out
I
there.
know you well.
You coming in with real Jermaine Cole energy towards me.
It's hip hop, baby. We back.
It's been the second time today that you got this energy in your heart.
Wow, watch your mouth.
For shit that I never said.
Listen, it's Woosah, bro. You know what it really is, though, and this is just going to tie into the week, man. There's been a lot of music that was out, and coming in, I heard of the remnants of you and Hassan talking about the current state of hip-hop, and it brings that aggression out of you, you know, like we've been in a space where we haven't had gangster rap in a very long time. And not to say that this is gangster rap, but it's tough talk for sure. We talked about ruffling feathers and things of that nature. So I'm very much in that energy zone right now.
Do you think that this is good for the state of hip hop?
Since they were saying it was dying, much like when Nas said hip-hop was dead years ago.
People got in their feelings?
People got in their feelings. They've said it again and said the shift was going to country music and so many other things. And it's hard to say that something died when we just celebrated 50 years of it.
Yeah.
Right? We have to then welcome what the change is and the growth. We put so many eyes on something so young that nothing else really has that same type of pressure that it's under. Just let it be what it is and appreciate where we are.
I can tell you what I appreciated about the whole situation. I got to champion anybody making power moves to create a moment, capture a moment, and capitalize on that moment every single time. So, you know, St. John's own Jermaine Cole.
Okay.
He just dropped that album right before he has his festival this week, and I got to salute that as, again, to be able to call your own number and get your own bucket is something that most people, Kyle,
Shoot the three, Scotty.
professionally don't do. Shoot the J.
Shoot the J, Scotty.
So looking at them as a parallel, possibly, is there any way that we can correlate that to our industry, Colin? This was the energy that I wanted to bring into this Ask the Professionals this week, right?
Okay.
So in the midst of, what could be just perceived as a little bit of friction or some tension inside there is good business being done on the back end, man. And it is something to be said about people who can actually create their own buzz, but then have that buzz give people a little bit of what they want, but ultimately lead you exactly to where I need you to be to make that commerce start to happen, man. So I wanted to know, as a professional, Kyle, do you think there's any way inside of health and wellness to create your own buzz energy and then carry that all the way to an end result where consumers are coming to you for the event that you really created?
Of course, brother. That's a great question. And again, shout out to Jermaine Cole. That brother has gotten way too many shout outs on this damn podcast. They need to cut the check.
All right.
And
if you had some bars, maybe step it up, bro.
I got bars today.
Well,
You're getting off topic, man. But to get back on topic, in order for that to happen, it requires a team. It requires a great line of considerate thought and intentionality baked in to setting up your shot and then hitting that shot and living with the result, right? And if you put them reps in, your game is going to show in that moment. And I appreciate the business savviness of J. Cole. Like, we often talk about the music but don't really recognize his lineage of, he was under Jay-Z. Like, he got signed by Roc Nation. He was a part of that mixtape era that Big Sean was talking about. So he's a pioneer in the shift of hip-hop on the digital side. And you see that digital footprint connect when you release an album a week before your concert. That this might be 4, maybe 5 years that they've been doing this now, and it's in his hometown, and he's finding success with that. Famously, Pharrell has something in the water, and then there were some issues that happened with the organization of that specific event. So to see somebody pick up the torch and continue to light it, it's inspiring to see. And yes, it can be replicated. You just got to put yourself in the game, get them reps in, and then when your number called, goddamn it, knock that shit down, get back on defense.
All right, so now I got to pull your card.
Okay, what's up?
You also brought up Virginia's own Pharrell Williams.
That I did.
Pharrell got you all the way outside the box this week,
man,
when he put out his Black Yacht Rock album.
I ain't even got the heart to play it yet.
You shouldn't.
It's so much music out.
You been talking all that good about the Blue-Eyed Soul.
Yeah, man.
And now you had the man from Virginia.
Yes.
NERD. He dropped the Black Yacht Rock album before you even put your thoughts together around that, Kyle. What say you, sir?
I'm going to put it like this. They call the man Skateboard P, and you never seen him skateboard, right? He can make a Black Yacht Rock album. I ain't never seen him on a boat. You know what I'm saying?
Something tells
you
me.
ain't never seen Pharrell in water.
Something tells me this is going to be a very provable point.
I'm just saying. Like, I know.
Right. I'm going to leave that alone. I'll see what type of time you
that
want.
Hype Williams video, the "Wanna Love You Girl, Wanna Love You Girl." Remember Robin Thicke?
I'm not doing this with you. We going to leave both of them brothers where they was at.
Rest in peace to that brother's career.
We need to step up the Yacht Rock side.
He sampled Marvin and never made it back.
Listen, man, there's certain families you just can't mess with, Kyle.
That part.
You got to stay out of it, man. Much like we're going to change gears. We're going to get into some of this good.
Okay.
We're going to get into a little bit of this bad. And we're going to talk about a little bit of ugly this week, Kyle. It's time for this week's episode of Rip from the Headlines, my brother. And first things first.
What's up?
I was looking around. I saw an article from GQ this week.
Okay.
And in GQ, they were talking about, Kyle, why top athletes usually don't look like fitness influencers. Now, just on the premise of that, you have any thoughts or insight?
Because they lame. Bro, I don't think people understand
Who's lame?
A lot of professional athletes are just lame individuals because they've put so much into their craft that they haven't had the chance to experience other things in life. You can't be the Instagram influencer and be a professional at the same time if you're not built for it.
So hold on, let's create a little bit of distinction here. So professional athletes have a body and a phenotype and a build that is usually very dedicated to the thing that they do.
Yes.
Conversely, a fitness influencer looks like they should be able to do a lot.
Yes.
But possibly might not be able to do a lot, kind of like the story that you started off at the top of the show.
All show, no go.
So we have a fitness influencer talking about how he was on damn near death's door for some of the best pictures that he's ever taken. And looking at the striation, looking at his definition, looking at the separation, he's like, if you needed me to do anything physically active at this point in time, it wasn't going to happen. He was like, I was always hungry. My libido was crashing. I did not have the energy to do most things in life other than flex on camera, my man. So that might be some of the differentiation. The show muscles versus the go muscles. Now, if you want to get a little bit deeper into that without triggering any kind of responses to your earlier story,
hey, brother,
would you add some color to that?
That's water under the bridge if you're picking up what I'm putting down.
I got you.
100%. Just another brief anecdote since I'm so vocal and sharing today. I used to have a client back in the day, and he was actively on steroids. Like, he was Brazilian. He used to go and get the needle from time to time, but he would still have sessions with me because he wanted his body to look a certain way. So he wasn't professional athlete by any means, but he was obsessed with how he presented into the world. And we would work out, and I would be like, fam, you can't look like this and not put some weight on. I kept trying to load him up. He was like, nah, man, I want to stay light and do a bunch of reps. And it really does get into a different psychology about, like, literally how do you want to present? What kind of results are you looking for? And there is a difference between someone who's functionally fit and active to do fundamental things specific to whatever sport that they play or activity that they do, and someone who just aesthetically looks good and on the converse, like you said, not necessarily being able to, output or produce any type of athletic feat. You just aesthetically look good.
Well, we call that specificity in the industry, Kyle.
Okay, you got it.
Meaning that if you train for a specific thing like aesthetics, you possibly can get very good at aesthetics.
For sure.
If you train for the functionality of whatever your sports or endeavor is, you're going to have a tendency to perform good in those things, and the musculature that kind of goes along with that will tend to follow.
One day we're gonna talk about the blackface again. That happens on them stages and competitions. But when you really unpack the competitions and stage level, like
you're talking about bodybuilding
on stage and those type of competitions, they do dehydrate themselves like leading up to the performance so that they can look a certain way. And it's very temporary. It's not something that's sustainable. So definitely take that into consideration.
Yeah, that's why Mans was on death's door and he couldn't, perform on the
we almost lost
other
that brother.
side.
He looked so good in that casket,
couldn't do nothing else with it, man. All right. Next up, Kyle, I want to stay on the side of the fitness influencers because we have talked long on this show about celebrities turn to fitness.
Okay.
We talked about Halle Berry when she stepped into the game.
We did.
We talked about Gabrielle Union. We brought up Chris Hemsworth, and we even talked about Arnold and the Pump Club that he just recently reinvigorated himself into the arena with, Kyle. But you know what? Even those people, as big as their names are, they never really got the meter moving the way that we would think the carryover would have inside the fitness world, my man. I step it up a little bit. I talk even a little bit about Steve Nash on the pro athlete side, dropped his fitness app. And you see LeBron James with Tonal doing the commercials at least. But how many tonal units is LBJ really moving like that?
I can for sure tell you not as much as you think.
Why do you feel that way,
Because I used to work in that motherfucking tone. And it was a terrible job.
Well, Kyle, in leisure opportunities this week, there is apparently somebody who was able to move the meter on the health and wellness side, specifically with the apps. Ronaldo crashes the App Store when he launched his new health and wellness app. Now, we're going to put some respect on football, Kyle, in this next story right here. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo might not be somebody that rolls off the tongues of people in our community the way that it should, but respectfully, on the world stage, this man is a massive, massive athlete who can really get to where he needs to get to, and he's been getting paid as the top Portuguese footballer for a long time. So when he decided to drop his app that combines the mindfulness, it combines the movement, and it combines a lot of the skills that he says is going to be in his realm of preparation. Kyle, this is outperforming the TB12s out there. Mm-hmm. He's putting it on, and he shut down the system, and people are trying to get everything they can to get his app in there. How do you feel about Ronaldo coming in and saying, everybody who took a shot at this, especially the Bear Grylls out there, all the random celebrities that we've had, yo, hold this down for a second. I'm going to teach these people how I really start to move with this new app.
Man, I don't have nothing bad to say about this, surprisingly. We did talk bad famously about Halle Berry and Thor and the rest of the people that you went down that list for. For this, I'm going to say it's going to be huge for the international play just because of how big soccer is as a sport. And we never talked about it, but the soccer swag is often the meter that a lot of people want to get to from the tattoos and you know what I'm saying?
The numbers this man put on the board is far beyond what we might be giving DJ some credit for. Derek Jeter, our captain, I think on a world scale, he might not be anywhere near these numbers.
Soccer is the world sport.
It's for a reason.
Once Americans understand the market outside of the U.S. and see how global that is, them arenas and the way that they take that, the intensity is next level.
He's been putting out intensity for a long time.
So I ain't got nothing bad to say about that. That was the best news I heard.
All right, my man. I'm going to skip that or skip out of that one. We're going to switch over to my last segment, and I want to talk to you about an article that I saw in VentureBeat this week, Kyle.
What?
VentureBeat.
Okay.
It's talking about venture capital out here. You know, you got to stay on the beat, the pulse.
You so well read, brother.
Of where people are putting their money in the industry that we have domain over, this health and wellness arena, Kyle. Now, the word of the decade so far, the next 2020s and beyond, is going to be AI. Okay. Just letting you know that right now.
You talking about Allen Iverson?
No, not that one.
Andre Iguodala?
No, not that one either. He should never have been recognized as AI, but we're going to let that go. I'm talking about artificial intelligence, Kyle, and this week, New York company Hume AI just raised $50 million in their Series B round for AI that is going to, quote, embark on using an empathetic voice interface. So they want to be the first AI company that taps into using emotional intelligence. Now, on the face of this, Kyle, what's your reactions to somebody making a dedicated statement, getting $50 million in a week to putting emotional intelligence inside this AI machine?
I aspire to earn a living and make money from my ideas. I'm going to start with that as a blanket statement.
That's why you need to keep your finger on the pulse.
That's number one.
Keep reading the beat.
Number two, again, the first thing comes to mind is Demolition Man, right? The world is slowly coming to an end, Tone. And when the people on Earth, as is, a great number of us don't have emotional intelligence as is already, as a concept, as a daily practice. Emotional intelligence is lost on us. And you're telling me now that we're investing $50 million or $50 million was raised on the idea that this technology can help people get to close that gap of what emotional intelligence is?
No, it's putting emotional intelligence in the machines that do not have it. So famously, if you're looking at
the robots.
Yes.
So my toaster is going to have a conversation with me about how my day was.
It might ask you how you feel. This is why they're using this type of innovation inside the software. So usually these large language models are only using what they can deduce from the text that you actually input, right?
Yes.
Because this uses voice, it's going to be looking at your tonality, and it's going to try to teach the machine to be able to understand what empathy it can be. Perceivably, it's trying to put what sounds like the God back in the machine.
No, I hear you. Now, let's make sure the machine knows about slavery, right? Let's make sure they know about the plight of the black man with the forever tan. Like, I want them to know all of that as a prerequisite, because then it's just going to enter society killing us all, and we going to be the crash test dummies because the robot's going to kill us.
I feel like John Connor every week, but people going to one day understand that if you don't pay attention, if you're not understanding who's inputting what the database is going to be built off of, who gets to say what empathy is going to be, right? If I'm not in the room, you're not in the room, and we can't put in what my perspective is, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be adjusted by the margin, and we're going to get left out of that story, much like other stories. We're going to be below
that margin. That robot is going to save your dog and not you if you're black. That's just how it works.
That's it from the good.
Okay.
That's it from the bad.
All right.
And that's it from my side of the ugly this week on Rip from the Headlines. Kyle, what did you see in your neck of the woods?
Man, that's tough. You always leave us on the cliffhanger, Tone. And I'm going to start with the good this week.
Okay.
First thing that popped up across my timeline would be the collaboration I'm curious about that I didn't know I needed.
Okay.
Now, when I say Sherwin-Williams, what comes to mind?
That's the paint company.
The paint company. They out here. I personally have been in plenty of Sherwin-Williams and purchasing paint and supplies and all the things from the mural painting business. So I got a rapport with some folks over there.
I do too, supplying hundreds of thousands of gallons of paint for a multinational large box facility on the health and wellness side. So I too know that.
Will be mentioned one day, but not right now. Now, what came across my timeline was a partnership between Dapper Dan as the creative director of Sherwin-Williams' new campaign.
That sounds kind of crazy, but let me go with it.
Now, Dapper Dan, famously known for his creations in Harlem. You want to go ahead and just give people a little footnote on what Dapper Dan would be to you?
Dapper Dan is a New York legend who is a pioneer on the fashion side. Allegedly was bootlegging back in the day, but I would say innovating, going out and creating his own patterns from the fabrics that are the highest and most coveted, sought-after brands, and making it in styles that, honestly, people would just come back and steal later on, generations later. Yes. And he finally got his credit much later in the process. But he had all the dope boys dipped out in some cuts and patterns that, you just could not get on Fifth Avenue. But now today you see it all over the place. All right.
He was serving the community, especially of those that were celebrities and up and coming at that time. He was the first stop you would go to get that new fly fit for whatever event that you wanted to show out at. Now, as you're swiping through, look at these designs that he has, right? Like, talk to me about what you're seeing.
It's very Cross Colors-esque. It's all over prints like the MCM brands, but it definitely has that Dapper Dan feel to it. It's like a strong 95 is what I'm seeing right there.
He's taking us back one stitch at a time into this garment. Now, the good part in his story was a quote that they took from him, and Dapper Dan talked about the perils of working with major brands that brought him in for innovation, but they never offered him a position as a creative director. And this is his first role as that. I'm looking forward to seeing what type of offerings blossom from this. And then also, where's this lane really going to take other people of his cloth? Like, this is a partnership that I didn't see coming. A paint company working with someone who's a clothing designer seems like two worlds that are being meshed together, but curious to see what riffles this may have coming forward.
Yeah, salute to Dap, man. He is the innovator of all innovators.
Now we got to get into some other stuff. Now, staying in the clothing side, this was a little bad. Now, Brother Tone, are you up on, well, firstly, before I lay this out, I want you to briefly just talk about your connection to the brand LRG and give me a little story about LRG, the brand.
The Lifted Research Group?
The Lifted Research Group. What does it mean to you?
You taking me to the 2000s eras now.
To the 99 in the 2000s.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Karma Loop days.
Okay.
I'm thinking about early streetwear, sneaker culture colliding with fast, affordable fashion at that point in time. I first came across the LRG group at a trade show called Magic in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And LRG was doing their fashion shoot at a strip club. And this was when DJ Green Lantern,
hey,
get familiar,
okay,
was spinning on the ones and twos. I was out there with the homies from Kick Exclusive magazine. And yeah, they came out and they was putting on their fashion show with some strippers in the strip club, man. This was a hell of a time.
You are a dinosaur, sir.
You had to be there.
And that was just the get indicted hotline that I needed. So clip that right there so he knows where this man was. Now, bring up LRG because they have been in the news lately. There was a young man, I should say an older gent, by the name of Derek Lambert. And he was filmed in what seems to be a gas station, a parking lot. That's where all things really take place. And he was holding some Whataburger, actually. That's where he was, in a Whataburger parking lot. And somebody was commenting on his outfit, was like, man, I ain't fresh. What you got on, Unc? Now, could you describe what Unc has on in this video?
This is the standard issue 1998 barbecue fit.
Look, he got the polo on,
Yeah.
he got some blue jeans, and he got some kicks to match, right?
Yeah.
That's a basic Unc. I'm older. I don't care about you young dudes no more. This is how I get fresh. He got on the New Balances. They look like some 574s. It's a classic shoe if you know the number. Go look it up. Now, this man was clowned online because he asked if he was fresh, and there was some little kids that was teasing him like, yo, you ain't fresh, bro. You was trash. Like, they was clowning this brother's fit. Now, you just complimented this fit, and I'm not even going to say complimented. You identified this fit as an Unc fit, 90s fit whatsoever. I'm here to tell you that LRG saw this. And in the relaunch of their brand, they did a collab tee with this brother Derek called the Ain't I Fresh tee, in which he will be splitting profits 50-50 in all of the units that they move. So it's one of those things where you get a heritage brand that's coming back. They're seemingly trying to connect authentically with what's happening in the streets immediately. And, just wanted your thoughts on how you felt about the reemergence of LRG.
I feel just as I felt when I was a fresh-faced youth and saw them doing a clothing launch inside the strip club. Whoever's behind this is a genius, has their fingers on the pulse, and they really know how to get the people moving, man. Nah, I'm here for anybody that's sharing profits with any kind of influencers. If y'all need athleisure partner right now, LRG, Lifted Research Group, we could put the Lifted in the research group right here at Off the Strain.
Lift it up.
That's how I feel.
Amen. Now, sliding out of that, we're going to get into the ugly. Now, the ugly in this story isn't so much the story, but more so the fact that I myself am 10 years too late to this story.
Okay.
Now, Tone, when
You're talking about the Yacht Rock again.
I'm not talking about
Okay.
Yacht Rock.
Never mind.
I'm talking about another story within itself. Now, this article is from Wired Magazine.
Okay.
About 10 years ago.
You've been moving into my reading section.
I've been, trying to transverse, if you will, new opportunities.
I'm happy for whatever lifestyle direction you want to go into, my brother.
Thank you. I received that. Now, into this Wired magazine here, this was November of 2013, in which it was an article covering Russia having a 30 squat minimum to get you a train ticket.
I remember this.
And this was a part of the Olympics that were taking place in Russia that year. So the Olympics were taking place actually in 2014, but in preparation in 2013 of November, they had this machine in which the people of this specific town in Russia, not too far from Moscow, I'm not about to get into the name of it because I ain't about to butcher it, but it caught my eye because I'm doom scrolling online. I'm like, oh, wait, people are squatting to ride the train for free? Can you imagine what would happen if a space like New York City had an option like that? How much healthier of a city could we be if instead of swiping that Metro card, yo, you come over here, do 10 push-ups, do 10 pull-ups, 10 squats, and you can get on the train for free.
Yeah, so some people already use the train as their workout space. I've been in that. it's very
Especially with all these murders taking place. Yeah, for sure.
Not even just that on that front.
The stairs, you got to rush to get it. You ever see somebody run for the train and fail famously?
I ain't even talking about on that level.
Okay.
Whenever somebody comes in and they start yelling Showtime, that's when somebody has decided to convert
Showtime!
this into their personal workout space for the next however long you got in between those tunnels.
Think of the people that don't have context for Showtime.
I never feel great when that happens. It's never going to be, oh boy, I'm going to get ready to enjoy the show.
Let me reach in my pocket and take some money out.
You're going to earn this dollar.
Wish I had some popcorn.
You never have that emotion, right?
No.
So whenever somebody transitions the New York subway into their workout space, it's always extremely intrusive and mildly inconveniencing at the least. You might get kicked in the face or get a hat thrown on you on the higher end.
Just
of
be
that.
ready to give a pound a nice dap.
Yeah, so
Show some support. All you got to do is support them.
the tracks are always trash too. We never really get to the bottom end of like, where are you picking these trash ass songs to
It's
do
the
this
same
routine?
one over all the years.
You know it.
You know?
You know it, right?
Yeah.
It goes right along the lines of subway offenses that, gradient up to the pushing on the tracks. But long before we get there, I don't want to buy your Werther's Originals. I don't want to buy them same famous Amos that everybody get from Costco. I don't want to have nothing to do with your tissue that you're trying to sell me. I don't want to have nothing to do with the baby that might be on Diamond Tap, but is just kind of there, always sleeping. I don't even want to have nothing to do with your dog that somehow looks better fed than everybody on this train, but you kind of look a little disheveled. I don't want nothing to do with none of that. So
It's oddly specific.
in New York City, I feel like this might not have the same level of adoption as it did overseas.
I'm here for it. I would like to see a world in which physical exercise is your ticket to getting to where you need to be.
Yes.
If it happens in New York, maybe it may or may not. It's 10 years. Everything is retro these days. We should bring it back.
I like the theory. The practice is what I'm concerned with.
We can implement the practice with the rest of the 500 police that Eric Adams is sending into the subway stations.
First of all, they don't look like they touched the gym at all, but that's a whole nother conversation. Like, if you had to do a pursuit at all, I don't feel, you protect and serve, I don't feel protected by a lot of y'all around here.
And we're going to slide out of that and leave that right where it is. We're going to slide into a little Raising the Bar segment this week. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, now it's still to Raise Your Bar.
Let's raise it up.
Brother Tone, now, in my research this week, I've been more well-read, as I told you. I've been out here looking into different things. I stumbled upon something that seemed to be a very popular topic these days.
Okay.
This topic being stress. Now, when I just say stress, what comes to mind for you?
It's a daily struggle.
Okay.
It's something that is...
What are some things that stress you out, brother?
The state of the world.
Okay.
I feel like the more you know, if you pay too much attention to anything and you zoom in too close to it, everything is stressful.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything is kind of mildly trying to kill you.
It's like leaning into your own mortality.
Yeah.
Like, you are one decision away from death every day.
Every single day. The more you find out about all of the different stuff that impact you, you don't feel good about that.
For sure.
I think in the city in general, there's a baseline level of stress just because of the proximity to so many people.
Everybody's 10 minutes late.
10 minutes late, on top of each other. We're all trying to get to that place, and we're all just like the fevered pace of it all is something that could induce stress on its own. But I think more colloquially speaking, I think it's people trying to manage future tenses. So you're trying to control something that hasn't happened, or you're trying to undo something that has already happened. And that's the baseline of where most people's stress, I would say, resonates.
Stress, you just saying that like that.
That's where it comes from.
Oof. All right. Now, that's just life. Stress as its own. As you get older and you progress into whatever your career path is, your life, your relationship, there's often going to be some work. And I'm here to talk specifically about occupational stress, Brother Tone.
Okay.
Now, briefly, as a, black man with a forever tan, as I mentioned before, occupying space in this wellness world, there are a lot of times where, again, I am the only chocolate chip on the cookie.
Shout out to Shakira Kelly.
Shout out to Shakira Kelly dropping that gem on us. And I think about the spaces that I worked in, the toxic culture and the behavior of the wellness world, and how I had to show up and how I had to present and how I had to set boundaries for myself and maneuver and navigate within this space. When I think about occupational stress, I'm thinking about the harmful physical and emotional responses that occur when the requirements of the job do not match the capabilities, resources, or needs of the worker, specifically, right? Man, I remember being in the yoga studio, getting a fresh retwist, folks coming up like, hey, is that your real hair? Like, which... Don't get me wrong, third world problem, not real stress, but every time that I got to unpack my blackness to somebody, it's always going to be a situation, And I think about little things like that we often don't have the language to vent about or to vent to, or the understanding of how much that can weigh in on your mental. So famously, you just talked about some tech and AI, and every week you come in here with some more stuff on how connected we are as humans and individuals in this world that we live in today. I was looking into the Garmin. Now, Brother Tone, can you lay out what a Garmin is for the folks that might not know?
Yeah, it's a legacy wearable device that started off particularly popular with the running and endurance communities and really made its debut on having one of the more accurate GPS trackers.
We famously also talked about homie that got jammed up on the Strava.
Strava
He probably had a Garmin on too. I ain't gonna hold you.
Listen, tried to get the Shaggy. It wasn't me off, but
it
had
wasn't
all
me.
of the breadcrumbs.
But you got me on the counter. One of those, right? Now, I was looking into Garmin because it does everything that you just alluded to, and they also have a stress tracking feature, which I thought was interesting. I'm like, can you imagine a device that you wear that is tracking how stressed you are as an individual on a day-to-day? Like, this is something that's on you, and it's looking at your stress levels. Like, that is intense for people who can't understand stress or don't see it. It's not something like a pimple. It doesn't stick out, but it's very much as harmful, if not worse.
It's an emotional state that has physiological impacts.
You speak of physiological impacts, so I'm here to take us through the deep science, Tone. Now, the Garmin stress tracking happens through this autonomic nervous system. When you get into those words, fam. So when you get into the autonomic nervous system, it breaks down in two different places. You have your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system, right? Central nervous system, CNS, includes your brain, and retina, optic nerve, your eyes are considered a part of your brain structure-wise, and your spinal cord. We get into your peripheral nervous system, which includes every part of your nervous system that isn't your brain or your spinal cord. It's a lot of science that I'm giving you, but brief breakdown. If we're talking about parasympathetic and sympathetic divisions. It then breaks down even further into that. So if I'm talking about things that happen vulnerably or invulnerable, right? So I think about my eyes blinking. I think about salivation in my mouth. I think about my lungs breathing in and out, my heart rate going up and down, how I digest food. Like, these are things that happen in life without you having to personally do it. Like, yes, you have to chew, but your body does the digestion. Yes, you blink every day, but you aren't like holding your eyes open unless you're in a staring contest. And then we got to question what you're really getting into, because eye contact these days is another whole layer that we don't even want to unpack right now.
The voluntary versus involuntary.
But you get where I'm going, right?
Gotcha.
So I'm diving into this rabbit hole of like, damn, like this watch is checking all of this. And then it takes me to the other side of this game of like, I'm giving up so much information, to which we now have AI, we got robots that are trying to learn emotional intelligence. Like, where is my data going? What am I voluntarily offering up to these companies when I purchase these devices? And it always circles back to that more information yielding better results. Like, just because I'm more informed, does that necessarily make it better? We just said, yo, the deeper you get into life, the more you find out, like, we all gonna die every day. It's just getting closer and closer to that point, right? And I'm like, in the midst of understanding how connected do I really want to be, especially if this thing that is supposed to be tracking my stress is indeed causing me stress, because I know where the information it's giving me is going. Mm-hmm. My question to you, brother, in a world that's connected very heavily, inside and out, how do you stay above water, so to speak, with the information you're giving out versus the information you're taking in? And then what do you do with both?
So it's all about stress versus strain.
Okay.
Now, to me, I take in this information solely because I want to know as a professional what the entire field is doing with this information. It's not something that I think most people, by and large, are going to be captivated about on the baseline consumer level. Garmin is doing an innovation here with how they want to apply it, but it's the same data set that all the wearable companies are looking at, right? They want to understand how you feel on an emotional level, what that correlates to on the physical level, and what that turns into in your output side, right? So because all those things are predictable, it's much like every other system. Like when Amazon knows when you need to order paper towels, they start showing you what paper towels look like.
100%.
Right? So in the health and wellness side of things, if I could predict when you're going to get sick, if I could predict when something's going to break down, if I could predict any of the things that might nudge your behavior in a certain direction, and then start suggesting them to you, that's where the payoff comes from on the company side, right? So it's all about what your sphere of influence is and how much are you being influenced by the stuff that's around you. I don't know if any wearable device has made measurable systemic change accessible to the base level consumer. Meaning, people have had Apple Watches on for how long? That kind of can tell you a fair amount of the same information. How much of the behavior systems have changed because you have more access to this information? And that's the key piece that's missing. So if I only concern myself with the world of tech, I only think like tech problems. And tech problems are about efficiency. So in a machine, if I tell you something's inefficient, I can correct that, and then the result changes. That's just not how life works. That's not how people approach life. So there's going to be the margin of people that are on the fringe and the highest level end that are wearing constant glucose monitors. They're looking at their HRV, their heart rate variability. They're looking at all the top level metrics. And some of those people are going to biohack themselves to a different level of fitness. That is a marginal population. A lot of this information that you're seeing starting to trickle down to the other end of the population is based off of marginal information, but they're implying that they can have impacts that will cascade to the whole population. So I don't know if we ever reach the level on the consumer side where people care that much about what these little data input parts are talking about. What people do care about is how they feel. What people do care about is the emotion that's centered around a sense of accomplishment. And what people do care about is what they're achieving somehow, some way. When they tie all of those metrics to actual result-based, community-supported results, that's when you're going to see that play all the way out, right? So I say that all to say, I pay attention to the system of thinking because that's what people are trying to do. If somebody's trying to control my thinking, I need to know why you want to do that. If I see why you want to do that, and I know what that end result is, I have an opportunity to change that end result, particularly if I know as much as I do about why you want to do that. So if I want to actually put at the tail end of this, not make money, but make people healthy, can we put the God in the machine to make people healthy? I think if I'm in that room, I know how to guarantee that those are going to be the downhill consequences. Bottom line is we still got to make money, but what if we made it a priority to make people healthy? Now, none of those companies are thinking like that because that's just not where they come from. That's not what they care about.
You know, I make more money off of you being sick without you knowing than you actually intentionally being healthy.
And that's why I am as invested as I am in those specific areas of the market.
When you were speaking, what came up to me was just thinking about that nudge that you talked about, right? And the nudge being the information, the extra, initiative, so to speak, to get you to move. And I'm thinking about life before that nudge, life before connectivity. Like somehow,
there was no life before that nudge.
But it was because our parents existed in that world, right?
And let's unpack that a little bit. Do you know what made them make most of the decisions that they have made?
I would say money, Jim Crow South, the social economic stresses.
Let me put it more specifically.
High blood pressure, diabetes.
Let me ask you a question about...
June lived down the block, but in my house at the same time.
How passionate do people in your parents' generation feel about the news?
They watch it.
Why?
That's all they know. They glued to it.
And it tells them nothing but truth.
Yeah, right.
And I'm talking about in their mind.
In their mind, for sure.
Right? So that's another form of technology.
Did you see the news? Yeah.
But that is a form of technology that's disseminating that same nudge. It's a different technology, but it's the same play. So now you go back before that. Okay, let's take TV out of the equation. Their parents, how many of them knew what we put in the newspaper was gospel truth?
I mean,
take that back.
Okay.
How many people in the religious organ, the printing press? That's a form of technology. Form of technology that governed what you're nudging, what I'm going to nudge you towards in the greater society. Before we got to the printing press, and we put it, I said it becomes gospel. Let's go into the institutions where knowledge was disseminated, which would have been the church at that particular point in time.
Okay.
That form of technology influences a whole lot of people to do very specific things. Here's the things that we want you to do. Here's the things that we don't want you to do.
So are we referring to religion as technology?
It is,
because
in a way.
It's divisive?
Not because it's divisive, but because of the application to a mass population for a specific reason. Now, you don't have to dive that deep. But if you look at the base tenets of it, every time we have a bump in technology, we're doing the same thing. We're orchestrating what we want what we want society to look like as a caveat to this piece of information. So I got to change how you feel. I got to change how you think about the world. I got to change what actually you see and what you're influenced by. And I got to give you rules about what is good, bad, and what is not preferred in this set of new technology that I'm giving you. Now, if you can't see the parallels to all those other steps inside there, you probably are going to be more on the side that gets influenced by what this level of change needs to institute.
God damn. I feel like I've always been ordained in my life, but after going through that, we got to start a cult. You know what I'm saying?
I've been waiting for it.
That just is the first thing that comes to mind.
We need new
tech. Yeah, that's going to be our tech is we need a cult, and we need, some real Kool-Aid that the folks can sip. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, the Kool-Aid was taking people out of here, man. We ain't gonna do that. Now with the eclipse coming up, all the rest of that shit, you can't put that out there.
Hey. That was the Kool-Aid man. That wasn't Harry Albert. Slide out of that. We're gonna get into a little relaxing responsibly.
That's right, Brother Jones. And this week, the Relax Responsibly is brought to you in part by the On The Move bag by Off The Strength, Kyle.
There it is.
Now, the On The Move bag by Off The Strength is conveniently located right over here. And this is, again, the Organic Thug-inspired pattern.
Yeah.
Mainly because I was on the road with the Thug today. And as you can see, Kyle, leaving right out of the yoga class conveniently,
You got your mat.
My mat is stored right along
with your
with me.
speaker that's camo to match the camo bag, because you are on the move.
I was on the move and in style while I was doing it. Kyle, now if I could get my ride plus my full body workout with a suspension trainer and keep my flexibility on point with the yoga mat all in the same place, I would want to turn to the on the move bag by Off the Strength.
It makes a lot of sense.
That's it.
I can testify that this brother came to my yoga class this morning, was front row, and then rode with the same bike to record our podcast afterwards. So he is on the move and on the go.
That's it, man. And that's how I got into my relaxation this week, because Kyle, I got a chance to relax, kicking back and stretching with the homies today, my man. You know, right over there at Frequency Movement. Honestly, was my most relaxing point in this whole week, bro. So
that's love.
We got to shout out to good brother Miles, because Miles goes all the way back in Off the Strength history when we got to have the
card coding member.
Yeah, he is the current card holding member, day one, A1 Ace for the Off the Strength podcast. Anytime we get to connect with people that's been a part of our journey for that long, man, I just got to, hold that in high regard and really put a little bit of extra attention to it. And the fact that homie will pull up for damn near anything that we got going on is always going to be something that I got to salute. So getting the fact to share not only in my good brother Kyle's class, but also getting that brother to pull up, man, it was a relaxation situation.
That's love, man. I appreciate y'all connecting and showing love as always. For me, my relaxation happened as I took a little joyride earlier in the week. The week was wild. We had the earthquake. We had just bad weather, rain, flooding, all types of stuff. It's been a crazy weather week. So the first day there was a little bit of sunshine and it wasn't freezing. I got out on the bike and I'm riding in the street. You know me, I ain't following the rules, just being the biker that I am.
Supposed to know your role, respect the stroke, Kyle.
Fuck that. So I was out living my life and there was this dude that he didn't like the pace in which I kept him behind me, because I was on the street with no bike lane. There was cars that was double parked. I was in the lane where the cars would be, but I was taking my pace because I'm making a left turn. This guy takes it upon himself to roll his window down and yell out, "That's not where you're supposed to be, fucking idiot." I was like, oh. So me being a spiritual advisor of the Off the Strength podcast, I looked at my watch and was like, oh, I got time today. So I spent the round to go have a conversation with this brother, because he obviously had to get something off his chest. And when I bent the corner to spin around to have a little one-on-one with him, he sped off and went onto the bridge, because I felt he didn't like my presence, approaching his presence. And it was one of those things where it was like, black card still works, So it was one of those.
I'm going to refer to this as the Relax Responsibly segment again, where
yes, for sure.
Every week you find a way.
We talk about being on the move. I was yelled at and called out on my name, so I went to have a conversation with him about it. See, younger me, what you're not seeing is younger me would have never made the left.
What I'm not saying is now every week
just went straight to his car and we would have had a conversation. But I thought about it. I looked at my watch and was like, "Oh, I got time today." Then I spent the block and then he was gone.
Every week you find a way.
What's up?
To bring the most hostile relaxation situation.
It's not hostility. I wanted to show this brother some love. I wanted to, build with him. We was going to link and build.
I want you to understand, again,
what's up?
As a spiritual advisor of the Off the Strength podcast.
Yeah, namaste, brother.
A lot of your energy, don't be relaxing, bro.
He started it. You know what I'm saying? I was relaxed in it because I was like, oh, you want beef?
We got to look at the error in your ways, Jones.
Man, listen, that's how I give it up.
There's a lot of non-relaxation.
He challenged me to a duel. You know what I'm saying? And I was ready to see who was better.
I, as a person who was on the opposite end of just asking a question earlier today and receiving,
I was relaxed that somebody thought I ain't have it on me, and I had it on me. That was the relaxing point. It was like, oh, this is when you need it. Nights like this, I wish.
Ask the question, to which the energy seemed very familiar to the story that you're telling, and then also to be actually right about the energy at the end of the day and right about the scenario that had to follow that. I feel like there's an area of opportunity that we really need to embrace, Kyle.
What's that?
You, my friend, are hostile.
Not at all.
I think we need to look at that.
I wouldn't harm a fly.
We got to get you to relax. We got to get you to commit to the relaxation.
Let's provoke. You know what I'm saying?
If you have any kind of relaxation resources that you would like to give to the spiritual advisor of the Off the Strength podcast, Kyle, how can people reach out to you? Because clearly you are in need of more relaxation.
Oh, before we go that far into it, we got to talk about hope, brother. You leaving out the hope.
No, I just wanted to get to relaxing because I really want, like, after the last few weeks, it was like, I'm concerned with this brother's stress.
My hostile. No, it was occupational stress as I was operating a motor vehicle. That's a callback right there for
I
the
feel
folks.
you, man.
No, man. If we talking real relaxation, it was just a joyride, and the fact in which I was able to see some people along that ride. So I had a friend of mine that moved away from New York and came back, so I got to kick it with her. We walked the block, looked at all the new stuff. Like, fam, there's a Chanel, a Hermes, and other types of luxury brands in Williamsburg that was famously known as just a warehouse district that, like, I used to go there to shop for vintage clothes in old beat-up warehouses, and now we have high-end stores. It's craziness. So to be able to walk through that and reminisce a little bit on the old Brooklyn days was relaxing. So when I got back on my bike to go home, you know, I was in a great state of mind.
I just want to check in on you, man. Again, I'm concerned. I see some spillage in your relaxation.
Sounds like you're hopeful, Tony.
I'm hopeful that my brother Jones one day does embrace.
Get your hand out of my pocket. You know?
The more tranquil aspects of relaxation. You know, one day I do hope that he's able to kick back, take a deep breath, and let some of that stress up out his system.
You gotta be on edge, man. You gotta manage your stress. You gotta know what the stress is and do what you need to put your best foot forward so you can two-step, you can tango, you can do whatever it is you need to do. Make it on through the week.
My truest hope, Kyle, is that in the upcoming cycling season that I'm amidst planning out for everybody, that I get to bring a little bit more fitness off the bike to people. Now, we are deep into committing ourselves to this Giants ride. So by the time people hear this, the following day, this Sunday, Kyle, I'm going to be on my bike a disproportionate amount of mileage over the next 48 hours. And I'm going to be planning out the route that people are going to do in this next upcoming Giants ride, right? And the entire time, I really do want to be concerned with how to make people move better off the bike. Kind of like I was just talking about with the On the Move bag by Off the Strength, my brother. You know, so I want to make sure that we get soon some capture of how to actually move better with the bag, man. That's what I'm hopeful for.
It's a beautiful hope, man. Shout out to the Giants Ride. Shout out to Ride Scouting as a whole. All them folks that's out there.
It's going to be a lot.
Setting up rides and not scouting the route before, and because you always got to expect the unexpected because it is New York.
This is the first scout that we probably going to do 2 more before the actual ride date. So there's a lot that goes into that preparation that people don't necessarily account for, man. But we here for these adventures, Kyle.
It's beautiful, man. Shout out to you doing that.
What are you hopeful for, my brother?
Man, I am hopeful this week for just a nice reset. I feel like a lot has taken place, you know, within the weeks, within the seasons. It's April. We in that transitional period. So I feel like, you know, being able to take the time, set yourself up for success, to knock down your own shot like we talked about at the top of the show is what I'm hopeful for, is people find out the game that they playing first, how to be the best player within that game and knock down that shot when they number call.
Don't get caught in the hype.
Listen, get your ass back on defense.
Man, and if they needed to keep up with the good folks at Off the Strength, Kyle, okay, now I'm getting back to that part.
Okay.
Right? All right, where could they check us out at, Brother Jones?
They can find us on Instagram at @offthestrength_. Or if you want to come see us in person, live and direct, in the greatest city in the world, that is New York City, come on down to Rockefeller Center, where you can see us at the Block of the Rock. Or if you can't make it on Instagram at Rockefeller Center or Twitter at Rock Center NYC.
That's right. And of course, we are brought to you in part by Bryant Perkins and his production over at I Did That, as well with the good folks over at Newsstand Studios. Once again, Brother Jones, it's been another fantastic episode of Off the Strength. I'm a trainer called Tony.
KR Jones.
Peace and much love to y'all out there. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Peace.
Yeah, and you know that. What's good, everybody? I'm a trainer called Tony, and I am here from the infamous Off the Strength podcast, asking you today, listeners, viewers, wherever you may be, to please like, listen, and subscribe to our podcast. This is how we're going to continue to be able to deliver you the best goddamn wellness information out here. So if you want to keep hearing this and you want us to keep growing, you are a part of this show just as much as anything else. So please go to offthestrength.com. Make sure you check out our blogs. Make sure you check us out on IG. And if you're hearing this voice and you didn't hit that subscribe button, know that Kyle is going to come looking for you.
You got that right. Deepening relationships or even losing relationships. You spoke about heartbreak, man. We done been there. We have a term called what's the term, Tone?
Primetime divorce energy.
Primetime divorce energy.
I've been through several Hollywood divorces in my mind, at least, and I've exhibited
in real life. In my mind, I done been all over the place.
It was not the paper wasn't official. That's why I said in my mind.
True. There was never a ceremony to make it legitimate.
But the impacts.
The feeling is still there.
Primetime divorce energy, for sure. I was exhibiting it multiple times. I think it's really telling because in that, it's the only form of time travel that the adult male really gets to exhibit in some way, because sometimes...
Listen, don't you start.
I'm just trying to lay it out so you understand what we're talking about in this primetime divorce energy, right? I feel like your development in a, let's say, not ideal relationship,
yes,
is stunted at a moment in time that you are not aware of until you get out of that relationship.
Yes.
Then you are confronted with the reality of, hey, you're not keeping up with the rest of time right now.
You're right.
Time
I gotta catch up.
has changed. So you might step out the first time, you're going to go to that dance. What's the fit look like the first day you step out? It's like, oh, wait a second.
It's hard.
It might be a little tricky. We might be displaying primetime divorce energy. You got to check the room. You got to understand what's happening.
Read the room.
That's the only thing I wanted to lay out. I've been there before. It was like, oh, we not doing that no more? All right, cool. I got to change up how I'm moving. It's like,
you got to make the adjustment on the fly.
Get a grip.
Yeah, exactly.